Are you thinking about moving to Houston? Well, let me tell you the top 5 things I hate and the top 5 things I love here in Houston. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the things that I don't like, okay? Let's just get those out of the way. Number 1, and I'm just going to be real here, the traffic. The traffic is terrible. It's like New York City, LA, Houston, Seattle. I've lived in all of those areas at one point in our lives. I think if you're not in an area with lots of traffic, it's going to take some getting used to. Okay, and it may ultimately impact where you choose to live unless you want to sit in traffic for an hour and a half, 2 times a day. Number 2 really kind of goes along with number 1, but is its own category. Bad drivers. I mentioned that my husband and I moved around from a lot of different places, and I'm going to tell you, we've seen bad drivers. But I have not seen bad drivers like I've seen bad drivers here in the Houston area. They're in the left-hand lane and they just dart over the lanes of traffic to try to hit their exit because they were too busy texting and they completely missed their exit. Just miss your exit. Miss your exit. Like, I missed. Okay? Get the next exit, turn around and start over again. Yeah, I've got lots of feels about the bad drivers and the traffic. Number 3, the heat. It's hot here. Houston is a subtropical climate with tropical influences, otherwise known as hurricanes. Hurricanes are very, very far and few in between, okay? Let's not talk. Hurricanes is a subject for another video, Cynthia, so we'll just... But it is hot. There are subtropical climates here. It does get very, very hot in the summertime. And number 4, my humidity, it's very humid in the summertime. It's so hot that your pool may end up feeling like bath water. Okay? Now we have this lovely invention. It's called air conditioning. So I go from my air-conditioned house into my air-conditioned car. Well, I guess it's more like this, right? And then into my air-conditioned office. Number 5 is a little interesting. And it's that the land is flat here. Houston is flat. As far as the eye can see, it's flat. Flying into Houston, it was kind of interesting to see how flat it was because I moved here from upstate New York, not to be confused with the city, but there is lots of texture in the land there. We have rivers that come through. I have Galveston Beach that I can go to. I have San Pedro's Island or South Padre Island about 4 hours from here. So there's a lot of water-based activities, and there are still some areas where we can go hiking and there's lots of nature trails and things like that. So now we're going to talk about the good stuff. The 5 things that I do love about Houston. Number 1, the cost of living is cheap. Look, I get it. Gas is really, really high right now all across the country. I get it, okay? But it's hard for my family to feel sympathy for me when I'm complaining that my gas costs $3.85 a gallon, okay? Because that's painful for us here in Houston. I don't know what to tell you. Come move to Houston. But our cost of living is cheap when it comes down here. Our food is cheaper. Our utilities are cheaper. Our houses are cheaper. What else is there to say? All right, coming in at number 2, no state income tax. What? There's only a handful of states here in the U.S. that don't charge an income tax or don't, what would you say, charge an income tax? They don't collect. That's what you would say. There's only a handful of states that don't collect income tax, and Texas is one of them. Now, when my husband and I and our kids, we moved down here, no, not my kids, because they were under the age of 7 and couldn't work. When we moved out here, we essentially saw a 10% increase in our salaries just by virtue of the fact that we didn't have to pay income tax anymore. Number 3, new homes. Now this might be kind of weird about why you would like Houston, Texas, but this is my list and it's my, my loves. And so I get to talk about it. So I lived I came from upstate New York before we came here, a little town called Corning. The house that we had was built in the 1920s. The house that we had bought before that was built in 1893. Okay? These were very old homes. Now they had lots of charm and they had lots of character and they were really cute little craftsman style homes. Okay? But I come down here into Houston and I walk a new home and it's like, whoa, I want shiny new. Okay? And because Houston is flat, remember I mentioned Houston being flat, because Houston is flat, we don't have any of these sort of organic barriers to construction. We're not going up against a mountain. We're not going up against the ocean. Okay. We've just got these wide open fields where you can build these beautiful communities and parks and trees and HOAs and pools and all this other fun stuff. Okay. So we have lots of new home builds that occur out here in the Houston area. Number 4 is the diversity of Houston. This was also one of the reasons why we chose to move out here, was because Houston really is a diverse city. It's so many cultures and nationalities that come and make Houston and the greater Houston area home. And it's one of the things that I love about it. Number 5. Number 5 is interesting, and you're going to have to kind of hear me out on this, all right? Number 5, I like the fact that Houston is an interesting mix of urban, suburban, and rural. I know, it makes no sense, but hear me out on this. Houston is so big. It's big. And I live in a subdivision that is experiencing the transition from rural to full-blown suburban. In the 5 years that I've lived here, we've had the first new concept Target open up, and I've watched our cow fields, legit cows in the fields, make way for new commercial development properties. So I'm watching this transition here in my suburb from rural to suburban, okay? And at the same time, I could go into the city and have a romantic getaway with my husband, or go hit candlelight jazz with my girlfriends, or go to see the zoo, the Houston Museum. I get all of the joys and the not the luxuries, but the joys and the amenities of a larger, big urban city. Well, there you have it. Those are the top 5 things that I hate in Houston and the top 5 things that I love here in Houston. What's your favorite part about living in a city? Comment below. Do me a favor. If you like this video and want to see more, please hit the subscribe button. I drop new videos every Monday at 9. Bye.